the cloud. All right. Thank you everyone for joining us for our July Coaches Launchpad. As every month, I have a wonderful speaker that is going to be presenting to you guys and answering any of your questions. I am particularly very interested in this topic. But before I introduce you to Shiro, couple of reminders. We have these monthly meetings every second Monday of the month at 12 noon Central Time. So if you want to just go ahead and block your calendars for 1 hour and have it just in case you're able to join these meetings, at least you have your calendar blocked. I am a volunteer for the ICF Houston organization. I am an ICF ACC coach and I have my own executive coaching practice. And I started this monthly meetings as a way to really create a community of coaches that could learn from each other. So it's not just me bringing a guest speaker every month. It's also learning from your questions, your comments, your posts in LinkedIn. So I highly recommend we're all connect in LinkedIn or any other platforms that you want us to connect with you so we can just support each other, right? And I think as we grow into our entrepreneurship journey, we understand the fact that even if all of us are executive coaches and we are starting our business, it's not like we're competing with each other. We are all very unique in our own beautiful and complex way. So we are going to attract those clients that identify themselves with us, that connect with us, not necessarily about what we offer. It's more about who's that person behind that offer, that package, that webinar that I can connect with. And that's been for me very transformational. So we got to support each other. I've learned that having a community is so helpful rather than being a solopreneur or just a small little team behind the scenes. We can learn from each other. And for that, I created a WhatsApp group. So I have my name and phone number here in case you're not in the WhatsApp group for the Coaches Launchpad. Feel free to send me a WhatsApp message so I can add you to our WhatsApp group. And I want to encourage everyone that is already in that group to share YouTube videos, any resources, any aha moments that you get from your learnings as an entrepreneur and as a coach, because we can share some resources that we might have not been exposed to and we're like, oh my God, that's wonderful. That's actually how Anne was our presenter last month, because she had attended a class that she had learned so much from that she wanted to share it with our community. So, okay, so I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let our wonderful presenter today, Shiro Halil Khan, and I'm probably pronouncing your last name incorrectly, Shiro, introduce herself. She became an entrepreneur not too long ago, but she's been a lawyer for a long time, and she's a dearly friend of mine. So, Shiro, thank you so much for being here today, and I'll let you introduce yourself and start.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me to hang out with you all during your lunch hour. Um, I am I am an intellectual property attorney. I've worked at a patent, trademark, and copyright law firm for 12 years, and then I moved on to LegalZoom to focus really on trademark prosecution, and for about 4 years, and then in 2024, I decided it was time to move on to my own thing and work because I also love working with small businesses, helping people out and giving them a little bit more. And I started my own IP law firm, which is it's virtual, so I meet all my clients via Teams or Zoom, and yeah, so that's where I am. My practice mostly focuses on trademark work, and business formations and business advice and contracts. I do copyright prosecution, and I will advise people on patent and trade secret portfolio management. But my passion is trademarks. So I today's whole idea is I've noticed with a lot of small businesses. Uh, First, one thing, you don't recognize what your intellectual property is. You're not able to identify it, or you identify a wrong thing, and then you pay an attorney to talk about patents when you don't have a patent, or you so, this will give you a broad overview of the intellectual property field, what it is, how you can identify if you have any intellectual property that needs protection, what you can do to protect your intellectual property. And so I'm going to start off with, let me share my screen with you. Do you see my screen? Okay, cool. So I've done something similar. I teach sometimes at the Houston Community College, and I help with the entrepreneurship program. So this is something I've done there to just give people a intro to intellectual property. So what is intellectual property? I'm sure all of you have heard it mentioned. You've heard your accountant talk about, hey, this is the valuation of your intellectual property. So intellectual property is a creation of the mind. What is it that you have created? Is it an invention? Is it a literary work? Is it music? Is it something you've written? Is it a logo or a name that identifies your business? Is it an image? And the US has patent laws, copyright laws, trademark, and trade secret laws to help inventors, creators, and business owners protect this intellectual property. If you've been really following most of the big businesses, you know we moved from holding real property into actually holding intellectual property as the value of a company, right? So especially when it comes to your knowledge, your brand, what you are doing as a coach is the most valuable thing you own as a business. And that's your intellectual property. So how do we identify these and how do we protect these? So there are four main types of intellectual property you will come across when you're talking to anybody. It's patents, which identify inventions and creation. Copyrights are works of authorship. Trademarks, this also includes trade dress, identifies source or is a source indicator. And trade secrets is confidential information that is valuable to you, to your business, to anybody who comes in. So let's start with patents and just identify those, get that out of the way. A patent is an invention. It's a creation. It could be a process, a machine, a manufacture, a composition of matter, a plant. A patent, what you have to understand, is not something that gives you a right to use it. It basically gives you the right to stop someone else from using your process or manufacturing. So what we get when we file for a patent is a right to exclude another person from manufacturing something you have invented, selling something you have invented, and monetizing it. So there are three main types of patents. And so this is in case you all invent something, find a new process, this is so that you can identify. There are utility patents, which are a useful process, a new machine, a new article, or a composition of matter that can be patented. You have design patents that are where something looks, but it is not, the design is not functional, or you have plant patents. So a patent, the trick with patents is they don't last forever. What happens is when you apply for a patent, you're telling the patent office, here's everything I know about this invention. Here's how to make it. Here's how to create this composition. But in exchange for teaching you everything I know about this and publishing all this information, you're going to give me 20 years of exclusive use to this information. And so I will have the right to manufacture and create this stuff for 20 years. And after that, it goes into the public domain. And so that's a patent, right? Copyrights. So I think copyrights would be something very useful for all of you. You all create stuff, you create books, you create manuals, you create processes. So copyright is a form of protection given to an original work, something that is your form of expression. So let's say you created a syllabus, you wrote a book on how to coach, you gave a lecture, right? If you recorded that lecture, now that lecture has a copyright to it, right? So all these works, artistic compositions, literary works, databases, graphs, these have copyrights attached to it. So as a coach, what is it that you generally would have in your copyright? All your manuals, your teaching material, whatever charts and graphs you create, all the material you put on your website, all these are copyrights that you own. Even if you hired someone to create it, you own the copyright, which goes on to our next topic, which is, which is a work for hire, right? So a copyright ownership is in the person who created it, the author of the work. But let's say you gave your material, you gave an idea to someone else to create something for you, you hired someone to create it, you still own that copyright, even if you were not the author in that thing, because that would be considered a work for hire. So if you have material that you had somebody rewrite for you, or you had an idea, but you had somebody write it for you, like a copywriter, what you want to make sure in that contract you're telling them is, hey, this is a work for hire. My company owns the copyright to what you are creating because I am hiring you to create this for me. Right? So that's something you need to remember when you are creating works or hiring someone to create a work. Right? So do you need to register your copyright with the trademark office? Actually, no. You have copyright in your work the moment you have put it in a tangible media. However, in the United States, for you to stop someone from copying your work, to stop someone from republishing what you have created, right? You have to have a copyright registration. Let's say you have all this material that you gave out in a class. Somebody is now making copies in selling it out. The only way you can actually get an infringement suit against them is if you have a copyright registration for what you have created. There is a small claims court which is attached to the Copyright Office, but even in that case, to make a small claim, you have to have a copyright application pending in the Copyright Office, right? So my recommendation is once you create something, go ahead and apply to the Copyright Office. It's very inexpensive. Copyright application is about $55. If you want to do it yourself, you can look through the tutorials on copyright.gov and figure out how to do it. But if you are creating something that you are going to give out in public and you fear this is something that can be copied, can be distributed, can be given out, that is one step you have to take to protect your intellectual property in it. A copyright lasts for a very long time. Under the current law, it lasts for your lifetime, plus 75 years, 70 years, right? So as a copyright owner then, as somebody who created this work, the law gives you several rights. You have the right to reproduce what you have created. You can prepare derivative works. You can prepare other works from what you have created. You can distribute copies of it. You can perform your work in public. You can display your work. You can also authorize someone else to do any one of these. So let's say you want to give a license to another company to print and distribute your manual. You can give them just that right. You don't have to give them all your rights, right? So you can give them a license saying, hey, I give you a license to print 100 copies of this manual for distribution only. Or you can say, I'm going to give you rights to print for 1 year, and you can have requirements. You can only distribute this for free. You have to say, I'm the copyright owner in this. So each of these copyrights can be divided and given out, sold, licensed separately, right? And so just because you give a copyright license to one person doesn't mean you don't have a copyright in it, or you can't give it to another person. So whenever you create something, you want to think about, hey, is this a valuable item? Do I have a copyright in it? Which you probably do. Do I need to protect this for the future? Right? Trademarks. So trademarks are one of the most valuable items you would have as a business owner. It is your brand. It is what your consumer, your clients identify you with, right? So when they go to find a coach, there are so many of you, right? But let's say you create a brand that is specific for you, right? This coach does this thing. So your brand is what's valuable. If you look at Amazon, Starbucks, right? Let's think of Starbucks as a company. There are so many coffee shops, but what's valuable for Starbucks is their brand, right? That's somebody can create the same coffee, but what they value most in that is the brand of their coffee, right? So your brand is what your consumer will come in search of. So your trademark can be a word, like Coca-Cola for soft drinks. So if you're looking at a service, it can be Chase. Banking is a service. Chase has a trademark for the word Chase Bank. It can be a logo, right? Like the Target logo. It doesn't have to have any words in it. It can just be a design. It can be a number. It can be your name, right? Taylor Swift has a trademark for the word Taylor Swift. So Elena, let's say Elena Sarangamoni is coaching, right? You can get a trademark for your brand name. But one thing to remember when you're getting a trademark for brand names is if you ever sell your company, you're also selling that brand name, which is your name, right? Um, so that's one thing to remember. You can have a trademark for your tagline or slogan, right? Do you do, like, let's say you have a unique term that you use with your coaching. You that unique term that you're using on your material you give out or at your presentations on your website, that is your tagline, and that is a trademark, right? So when you go back now, look through all the ways you use your brand, identify what your trademarks are, and you can use a little superscript TM next to it to tell people, this is my brand. I protect this. You cannot use this brand without my permission. You don't have to have a trademark registration, right? So as a coach, your brand name, the name of your company your clients reach out to, your tagline, your logo, all these are trademarks that are valuable to your company. So do you need to register a trademark? Bottom line is you don't. You have trademark rights even if you don't file for a trademark registration. And unlike in copyrights, you can file action for your trademark infringement and send a cease and desist letter even if you don't register your trademark with the trademark office or the state. You have something called a common law trademark in what you do. However, there are lots more benefits to having a registered trademark. You get to use a R with a circle around it that tells people this is a registered trademark. Your mark is listed in the USPTO database. So if, let's say, somebody is trying to register a new mark, they're always going to do a search in the database to say, hey, is somebody already using this brand? So a registration puts your name on that database and then prevents another person from using it, which in turn prevents you from having to send out that cease and desist letter. Talk to a lawyer and say, hey, somebody's using my brand and all my clients are now going to this person, right? So it proves ownership if you have to go to court. It's a deterrent, right? And so I don't think the last bit applies to you all because you all don't sell goods. But if you are selling goods, you can register it with the Border Patrol and they will prevent any goods coming into this country that has your brand in it, right? So many benefits to trademark registration. But then how do you register your trademark, right? You can register it as a federal trademark. Let's say you have clients, you do presentations in more than one state. You have clients that are across state lines. You can get a federal trademark that is registered with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Let's say your trademark is really basically local. You don't have really outside clients. In that case, you can get a state trademark registration and register with the state of Texas. In both cases, your trademark can use the R sign. You have a database which your mark is registered in. So what is the process of getting this trademark? A trademark cannot be gotten. You can't get a blanket trademark and say, hey, I want to protect my brand for everything. A trademark is limited by the goods and services you are offering. So you are offering coaching services. So your trademark would be your brand for coaching services. You are selling printed books under this brand. You can get a trademark for printed books. You are selling digital books. So you can get a trademark for digital books, right? So once you identify your brand and what goods and services you are going to use under this brand, you file a trademark application with the trademark office. It goes through an examination process, and then you get a trademark registration certificate. A registration certificate lasts forever. But there are a few things that are important to remember when picking out a trademark. You want for one thing, you want a mark that is not already being used by someone else, right? So first step is to do a clearance search. Then you want to choose a mark that is not generic, which is not the common term for what you are doing. You want to avoid descriptive marks because they are weak, but you still can get a registration for a descriptive mark like Bank of America. But the more powerful, strong trademarks are marks that are fanciful, like Kodak and Adidas, that have no meaning, or has arbitrary meaning that has nothing to do with what you are providing. So Apple for computers, right? Or it's sort of suggestive. It tells you a little bit of what you do, but it's not exactly descriptive of what you do. So that is the most important step in figuring out a trademark. So that's trademarks, right? So you know your brand, you picked out your mark, you know what goods and services you're going to use it for, you can apply for a trademark application. The other thing that is valuable for a small business is trade secrets. Trade secrets is everything that is confidential to you that has monetary value to you or your company, right? Your customer list can be a trade secret. Your method of teaching that is unique to you that you've written down somewhere, right? Your like data you've collected at each event that is very specific and you don't want to share. So all that confidential information, if somebody gets their hands on, has value to them, is trade secrets. So the way to protect your trade secret is to make sure there are enough steps for somebody to access it. There is no easy access unless you give permission to somebody to get it. So password protecting your data, password protecting your customer list is how you protect your trade secrets, right? So I've listed a list of trade secrets information that can be used. I'm happy to share this slide with you if you send me an email. And I also have a flyer that gives you like the basics of IP protection. So you can just, it's like a reference point to say, hey, do I have any IP here, right? And anything on this list is a trade secret that you can protect without too much cost. You just have to make sure you password protect this information and have a method of making sure nobody accesses it. Here are some useful links. The trademark office has something called an IP identifier. It, I will see if I can show you this link here. Can you see my screen? Let me share
Yes,
this.
Shira, we can.
Can you see where it says IP identifier, learn to
Yep.
identify your protected intellectual property?
Yes.
Okay, so in this screen, you have like, you say, no, I don't know what IP I have. So if you start there, and then it'll take you through the steps of, hey, do you have a brand name, slogan, logo? And so you go through each of these questions and it'll help you identify what intellectual property you have, right? The other link I have, which is really useful for small businesses, is this link. The trademark USPTO has an inventor and entrepreneurship resource page, right? So here it gives you information on identifying the intellectual property, trademark basics, copyright basics, right? How do you search for a trademark? Uh, there are access to free services for small businesses. And they will also tell you, okay, at this point you need to speak to a lawyer, but this is information you can access and do on your own. The other link I have here is the Copyright Office. Where's that link? Ah. This is not letting me go to the Copyright Office link. Sorry. So copyright.gov is the other link I was going to share with you, which takes you to the Copyright Office. Let's see if I can get to that page from here. So you know what it looks like. So this gives you information on copyrights, what it is, how you register your work, right? So you can follow the steps, create an account here, and you can either do a group registration of updates to a new website. So let's say you have a newsletter that goes out, right? That could be a copyrighted work. So you want to protect that from being printed, de-distributed, right? So this is where you would go for. And it gives you several really good tutorials you can do on your own. And if it's still too complicated, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk you through all that. I am going to, I want to keep this presentation really short so that you got an overview of what you needed to know, but also gave us enough time to talk about any questions you may have, um, or issues that you may have, like, hey, this is what I have. Do I have a trademark here? So feel free to um, okay, I see a few questions here. So how
Shira,
do I know if a program has already trademarked by somebody else? So you cannot trademark a program, right? You can copyright your program. Trademark would be your brand, right? So you can do a trademark search in the trademark office to see if your brand is already trademarked, right? The uspto.gov gives you an option to do that trademark search. But let's say when you say a program, what do you mean by your program?
Shira, can you put your contact information slide, please?
Okay, I will put my.
Well,
I'm happy to share my slide with you all as well.
thank you. And you can come out of mute and answer the question.
Yeah,
Yes,
what is it that you when you say your coaching program, is it a particular
I
method of
create
doing something?
a coaching program, and one of the steps will be decoding your fulfillment DNA. So that term fulfillment DNA, I don't know if anybody already used it.
Oh, the
Uh,
term consumer DNA?
yes, and then under fulfillment DNA, there will be a certain step for your legacy compass and learning about your core value and this and that. So what can I do with that? Do I need
Okay, so
copyright
let's say,
and
let's start
trademark?
with consumer DNA. Is that a term that is generally used in your circles? Is it something, is it a work of, like, is it an art form? Is it an industrial term? Or is it something you came up with?
It's fulfillment DNA, and I don't know if it's common or not. It's I don't know if anybody already use it or not.
So if it's something you came up with, right?
Yes.
And it is something that identifies your particular method of teaching or your particular brand of coaching, yes, you have the possibility of getting a trademark in it for coaching services, right? Let's say you're doing a particular class in fulfillment, and that class is called Fulfillment DNA, you can trademark it. Or if you're using it in a tagline for your, like it's your tagline, it's your uh, phrase that you use in promoting your brand of coaching, yes, you have a trademark in it. But if it's something that most coaches use, if it's a method of doing something that other coaches have also used, then you don't have a trademark right to it. Does that make
Well,
sense?
I came up with that, but I don't know if other coach also have the thing underneath it. I don't know if other has came up with the
The
same
things
thing.
underneath this is a method, and that can't be trademarked. If you have a particular way, writing to it, that can be copyrighted, right? Let's say
Okay.
you came up with a book, a manual, teaching material for that. All that would be copyrighted material.
So I need two things. I need trademark and I need copyright.
Yes, would be the two main things you as a coach would need
Yes.
to protect.
And now if I have the thing that I want to coach under that copyright, and then after I coach for a year, I feel like I need to update it and add more things or take some out.
Mhm,
Just have a modified of it.
mhm.
Then what can I do about that copyright?
You just file a new copyright application.
Hmm.
So once you modify everything, you apply for a new copyright application for your
Yeah.
modified, like version 2, right? Like you'll see, like even in books, right? Even in textbooks, you have the version 1, then a few years time you get upgraded version. So then you get a new copyright on that upgraded version.
So Shirazi, would that be a new application or an amendment or addendum to the existing one?
For a copyright, it would be a new application.
Clear.
And it's $55. So it's pretty inexpensive to file a copyright application. And so if you have a series, then you can combine a series into one application. But if it's a standalone thing, it's just one application per standalone work.
Clear. As I'm listening to you, and this is very helpful, because I've never considered this from a coaching perspective. What is the risk? What's the probability of the risk? Like, to what extent is it an imminent threat or a material risk that we expect to materialize?
For you, your brand, right?
Yeah.
Your brand is probably the main risk. Your brand and people printing and redistributing your material are the two main risks I would identify in yourself, right? Is somebody now using your brand to, let's say, your coaching school gets really popular. Is somebody now using that brand to provide coaching in other states, right? Are they promoting it and saying that they're affiliated with you? Right? Or did you come up with a tagline that is really unique that now somebody else is trying to use? Right? So that the trademarks would be high risk, valuable items for you to protect. And the other thing is the material you create, right? Did you come up with a methodology and have a method that you wrote out? And are people now trying to copy what you have written, right? So in that case, both the trademarks and the copyright come into play, because just as much as you can't really protect a method of teaching, you have now built a reputation for this method being very good. And your reputation is your brand name, right? So that brand is what you are protecting. Because anybody can, let's think of a popular brand, like let's say Amazon, right? Anybody can now start an online shopping experience. But Amazon will always have that upper hand because of brand recognition. People know, hey, this is where I get my stuff from.
Yeah.
Right? So that goes to any service, right? People would choose, like even a school, right? You can have several universities, but the reason some universities are better recognized than the other is their brand name, right? You're getting a degree from this particular university. So consumers are going to choose, even if they teach the exact same thing, you're going to choose this particular brand over another, right? Restaurants, they can serve the same food. They can copy the same recipes because recipes can't be protected. But what you're going is for the brand of restaurant or the name, and which is carried in your books as your goodwill of the company. So when a restaurant is sold, what they are selling is not just the building, but the goodwill and that name that the restaurant has.
Clear. So in your experience, and maybe you have a specific experience of coaching, a risk is, the way I look at risk is impact times probability, right? And the impact is very high. I think you've made that case clear. If somebody walks away with your logo or with your brand, etc. What's the probability? Is there a typical curve of probability you see as a company matures or not, or has a specific span or exposure?
So that is something, it's a business decision, right?
Yeah.
The more popular you become, the more successful you become, the probability is going to keep rising, because now people are going to try to benefit from that goodwill you have created, the quality brand that you have created. So as you grow, as you expand, as your client base grows, the probability of your brand getting infringed keeps rising.
Mm. Are there companies that actually scout for brands that are successful that are not patented?
There are a bunch of trademark trolls out there.
Mm.
They will apply for trademarks. So influencers, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you followed the very demure trademark battle. So this lady, who's an influencer, used this phrase, very demure, very classy. But it was a phrase. Does anybody know the
Mm.
full phrase? Yeah. So it started with very demure, and so she then, because she had already had all these followers, got proposals from big companies to advertise with them with this phrase to have her promote their material. But what she didn't do was apply for a trademark registration before she went very public and became popular. There was a guy called Bates who has a reputation of being a trademark troll, who applied for a trademark registration for her phrase, right? And because the trademark office is a first to file system, his trademark now prevents, so his trademark got priority. And when she went in with her trademark application, her application was denied. So she then had to get to lawyers and try to prove that she used this trademark first, that she used this phrase first to provide a service, and that he came in later. But because it got so expensive, she didn't follow through with it, and his trademark now got a trademark allowance. Right? So this was in the news. It was on NPR, carried a whole article on this. So that
Yeah.
for me would be the biggest risk, right? Let's say you have your Instagram, TikTok, and then you come up with a phrase that is unique in coaching. And now people start using that phrase even to get merchandise, right? Now they, like, if you hadn't protected it with a trademark registration, people can publish books with your phrase in it, and like no consumer is going to believe that you have nothing to do with these books, right? They're going to print t-shirts and pull it out. So that would be the main risk you want to avoid going forward is, hey, I have this, like, let's say Anne's method, right? She mentioned was, what was it? Fulfillment DNA. And you put out a video that mentions fulfillment DNA in coaching, and you go viral, right? If you haven't registered it as a trademark, somebody can now go ahead and register fulfillment DNA for coaching services. And you now have to fight a battle to prove that you used it first.
Mm.
So
Interesting.
that is the risk that you're looking at.
Yeah. I'm curious for all the coaches on the line who has trademarked or copyrighted any of their property.
So let's see. There's a way of finding this. So I'll show you how to do a basic trademark search.
I have a
here.
question.
Yes,
If one have there been cases where people fight the battle and win, proving that they have used it first?
Yes.
It's just a matter of
So
having
in
the
this
money and
case,
resources
if this lady
to
had followed through with her application to the trademark office and proven, and then filed to suspend, filed to oppose this other person's trademark, she would have won that battle.
Okay.
She just didn't follow through.
So Shira, in this case, if the guy starts using the very demure in his business and he starts attracting clients and all that, he can, and she continues using the very demure, can he file a lawsuit against her? Oh my God.
Yes, he can file for trademark infringement against her. Because and then all she could say is, I had a common law right at the beginning. And so then her rights are very limited to what she did at the time he filed the trademark before he got all those rights.
Got it. Here in the book, when you write a book, you have the page, the second page says copyright, whatever. That is, you put that in the book for sure, but you have to file a copyright application before you put it in the book.
Not necessarily, because your copyright attaches the moment you create it.
Oh,
but to sue somebody on copyright, you have to have registration.
Got
So
it.
what you'll do with a book is you publish the book. So you now have a copyright at the time the book is published. Then you apply for a copyright registration. You can do it both ways. You can apply for public registration before publication, or you can publish and then send a copy of your book to the copyright office and get a trademark, copyright registration on the book. And then they give you a certificate saying, hey. So you want to see if your trademark is taken, right? So I'm sharing the screen where the trademark search system is. And so you can then go here and search for a word mark and give me a word you want searched. Chris, do you have a word you want to search for a trademark?
Genesis coaching. And I'm just giving you 2 random words.
Now there are 5,100 marks that have the word Genesis or coaching in it, right? So I'm going to limit this to Genesis.
Genesis or coaching? And now you're
let's say just Genesis, right? And then you can refine, like say, okay, there are marks that have Genesis in it, right? But you can refine it by goods and services, saying coaching. It's for coaching.
Oh, okay.
So then you have 8 work marks that have consulting services. Genesis growth is consulting services on business growth, right? Training, mentoring, coaching services in the business strategy, right?
Oh, so he can't use it then.
So you can't really use it if you're doing that, something similar to what they are doing.
So I cannot use Genesis growth. I could use Genesis coaching.
It's only if, so growth and coaching are very similar, right? But the main term here is Genesis. And so trademarks are judged not by how, if it's an exact match, but if it's similar to what the other person is doing.
Whoa.
So will a consumer who sees Genesis coaching assume it also is it's part of the Genesis growth umbrella? Would they think this company that does all these services, right, in business strategy, business training for corporations, would this company have a coaching service that is called Genesis coaching? Right? If there's a probability that would happen, and there is a high probability, right? Let's say a consumer says Genesis growth for this strategy, and then they also see Genesis coaching, which is specifically for executive coaching, they're going to assume it's owned by the same company, which is, Creative Capital LLC, right? So now, even if you apply for a trademark application in this place, this trademark is going to prevent you from getting a trademark registration. Right? And let's say like you use it and then you get really popular. These people, if they're really aggressive, can send you a cease and desist letter saying, hey, our consumers are mistakenly going to your website thinking we own it. And so now you're infringing my trademark.
Can you artificially inflate the scope that you intend to actually use?
So when you file for a trademark application, you don't have to be rendering any of the services at that point. Okay. You can file something called an intent to use application, where it gives you 3 to 4 years before you have to prove to the trademark office that you are actually rendering these services, right? So what I always recommend people do is, hey, sit down, write a list of everything you think you'll do in the next 4 years. Let's include that in the application. When we come to the statement of use stage, you are not doing any of this, we can delete it. Costs nothing to delete it, but you can't add anything to your trademark application. And your priority starts at the time of filing, not at the time of using, right? So the moment you file an application, you have a priority date as of that date, even if somebody else starts using it before you start using it.
So if that's the case,
sorry, Brian, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, so if that's the case, if I, let's say I have to get an LLC, Genesis Coaching, I mean, assuming Genesis Growth is not there, should I then, after I have my LLC, Genesis Coaching, should I then trademark it for
Yes,
best?
because an LLC is not going to give you trademark protection.
It's just the company, but the trademark.
It's just the name
I
of
need
the
to get
company.
that. Okay.
You want to get a trademark registration to
Right.
protect your brand.
How
Because it
expensive-
also gives you protection from somebody else cutting and taking your website away.
Right.
So let's say you have a trademark registration for Genesis Coaching, but now you're trying to get the Genesis Coaching website. There's somebody who has bought it, but is not really using it, right? So then you send your trademark registration to the UDRP and say, hey, I have a registration. This guy wants me to pay him $10,000 to use this website, which he's quoting. They will transfer it to you, even if like if somebody's spotting your website and not letting you use it.
Good to know.
So we know to file a copyright is $55. How expensive is to trademark something, Shiro?
Trademarks do get a little bit more expensive. Trademarks are filed based on number of classes. So each category of goods, right? So business, strategy, consulting, teaching, all fall under one category, and each category is $350. Clothing is a different category, so it depending on how many categories you decide to go with. So coaching would be one category, right? So that's $350. Unlike copyrights, trademarks are complicated to file, so you're also looking at legal fees, which is about $1,000 for a trademark.
Got it.
What's the effort involved?
You do a trademark search, then you have to make sure you draft the goods and services correctly, and you don't put too much in or don't put too little in, and that's the main thing, right? So it's a hit or miss doing it yourself. I have clients who lost trademarks trying to do it themselves because they put in wording that doesn't give them the protection they need. But so you're like in government fees form, you're looking at $350 in government fee.
And it's a lifetime cost, it sounds like. You do it once.
You do it once, and trademarks are forever. Your trademarks don't expire. You have to file a renewal every 10 years, but once you get a trademark registration, it is forever. As long as you pay the government every 10 years to keep it going.
Okay. And what are the avenues by which you can challenge somebody's trademark? So one is proving that you used it before the other person did. Are there many other smart ways that could be brought to light?
So the main thing you would have a trademark rights over a trademark is if you used it before somebody else did, or you filed an application before somebody else filed it, right? In the US, the trademark registration process is first to file, but it's also common law first to use, right? So you can prove that you had common law rights before somebody filed. And once a trademark is filed, there are ways to protest a trademark filing. Like you file an opposition, you can file for a cancellation. Let's say there's a trademark registration that's preventing you from getting your registration, and you have proof that this person is not real, hasn't used it in 3 months. There's a process called cancellation where you can file with the trademark office to have that trademark removed from the database. And then if it goes to an infringement suit, then you file with the district office, district courts.
Wow. So 3 months is not a long period. Is that the minimum term?
3 years. 3
Oh,
years.
3
If you haven't
years.
been using for 3 years.
Okay. I thought 3 months. I was like, wow.
I heard
Sorry,
months.
there's
Yeah.
a month.
I was gonna ask
3
about
years.
that.
Yeah. Cool. So I am going to leave my email. I put it in the chat. And if you all email me, I will send you the slides, and I have a basic flyer on intellectual property for both small businesses. I'll send that to you. And I do provide a free consultation for anyone who has any more questions. So drop me an email, and happy to answer any other questions you have. I will, if you tell me, I have a friends and family discount on my services. So if you tell me you at this event, I'll give you that discount too.
Before you go, I want to take a group picture. If you're okay with taking the group
Yes.
picture, please.
Yes, would love to.
Okay, can you stop sharing, Shiro, so I
Yes,
can?
let me stop sharing.
And I post this in LinkedIn, so
Okay.
let me view gallery. There we go. Is everybody? I guess this is it for. How do you put everybody in the gallery?
I
For you.
How many? We have 9 participants, so
Oh!
I can see all 9 participants here.
Me too. Sorry. Okay, very good. Everybody ready?
Yes.
Cheese. Got it. Thank you. So yeah, I'm gonna save it. And I'm going to post it just so you guys know.
That's
In LinkedIn. Shira, we want to thank you. This was so informative. I'm sure all of you guys were able to learn something. Even if you don't apply it now, I know it's going to come up in the future. So thank you for giving us 1 hour of your time.
Oh, my pleasure. Just
And
glad
thank
talking
you
to you.
everyone for attending, and I'll see you next month.
Thank you. It was
you.
wonderful.
Have a great rest of the week. Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Very
Great
generous.
information.